In a move towards a more sustainable and environmentally conscious future, Nigeria has embarked on a transformative policy aimed at converting fossil fuel engines to compressed natural gas. This groundbreaking initiative not only aligns with global efforts to reduce carbon emissions, but also positions Nigeria as a leader in the adoption of clean energy solutions. But for many Nigerians and analysts, it is also about cost reduction. It's about energy security. It's about economic benefits. Look at it from this point. Leveraging Nigeria's abundant natural gas resources. This policy, if well executed, will foster energy security by tapping into a domestic and reliable source. The shift to compressed natural gas not only reduces the country's dependence on imported oil, but also presents economic advantages, offering cost-effective alternatives for both vehicle owners and the nation's economy. That should interest you. Cost-effective alternatives. Will this create job? Will it lead to technological advancement? Are we about seeing a revolution in the transport sector? What are the general impact on society? Hey, what are the challenges? So to look at this subject with me is a mechanic in the vanguard of this initiative. This mechanic is already talking about the advantages derivable from using compressed natural gas to power our vehicles. Tunde Onakoya, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Hello, Edmund. It's good to be here.
Good. Tunde Onakoya is of Auto Clinic. Compressed natural gas. Diesel, petrol. What is the difference?
Well, they're all fuel to start with. It's a source of energy. And if we want to take it back to the basics, the fundamentals of how vehicles will run, they require energy that is stored somewhere. That energy needs to get into the engine and get converted from being chemical to kinetic energy. Heat is generated as part of the byproduct of that, and that's the way it works. So whatever the case is, the principle remains the same from the early 1900s to now. So you have energy that is stored in one form or the other. You have it stored in petrol, in terms of what petrol is, fuel. Petrol gets into the engine, but for it to be used in the engine, it must go through a process called atomization. Now that atomization turns petrol from liquid that it is into gas, and then it is that gas that gets ignited in the combustion chamber that burns. The same thing applies to diesel. Diesel is mixed with oxygen, and then it is compressed under very tough conditions. Apply heat to that, it vaporizes, then combustion happens as well. So it means that for you to actually use any form of fuel in any engine, it must be converted to gas first. So when we now talk about gas powering a vehicle, it means that we are meeting the vehicle at the point where it enjoys the most, because the liquid is not even useful for it in the first place. So we already have gas that is stored in compressed state and ready to move into whatever space that is provided for it, which is in this case now is going to be in the combustion chamber of an engine, and then it ignites. Now, compressed natural gas is you having gas in its almost purest form. It's natural, it's there. Nigeria has it in abundance. So we are now looking at a situation where we can just feed the engines of our vehicles that are thirsty for power with this gas. In its natural state, nothing needs to be done to it than just bottle it up and allow the vehicle run on it. So that's it. That's the difference between petrol, diesel, and gas.
As the removal of subsidy led us to say, okay, necessity is the mother of invention.
Well, I wouldn't say it was the removal of subsidy that brought about this. The National Gas Expansion Program actually has started as far back as 2020 under former President Muhammadu Buhari, where he had already started touting the idea of, you know what, let's power vehicles, let's power plants using gas. There are some companies that today run on gas for their power supply, for their generators. I could recall one major telecoms company recently talked about how he has been able to save about 500 billion naira now from its usual energy demand by just converting most of its generators to run on gas. Meaning gas is cheaper. And it's not new. Again, I want to say to people that the technology of using gas to power vehicles is not new at all. That's a technology that is at least 30 years old in the world.
So what have we been waiting for?
We have been, when people get things for free or generally get it for cheap, that's what we do. We don't care. Look at the same thing is applicable when you go to the US, for example. People in America are not running their vehicles on gas because they can afford gas. Even when gas is expensive, they will complain about it, drive smaller cars, but they still just want their gas-powered vehicles. That is petrol now. So we, over the years, I could recall about 10 years ago, for about 12, 13 years ago, I had a vehicle that ran on LPG gas. I brought it into the country, running on LPG, and I maintained the system for about 8 years before I let the vehicle go. And I didn't have a problem running it on gas. This has always been in existence. It's just now that maybe the economic indicators now have now said, guys, you need to go back and look at it. We are slow in the adoption, I must say. Ghana has been running a lot of their taxes on gas over time. Egypt has been doing the same for a very long time. Turkey, a lot of taxes, even in Turkey, has been, and a lot of Eastern European countries as well, have been running on gas for a very long time.
Now let's look at this. What's the difference between compressed natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas, LPG?
Okay. So LPG is the cooking gas that we have in the house. You have propane, methane, butane. Those are the major components that you have in that. And it is stored in liquid form. So you notice that cylinder, if you shake it, you can feel the movement of liquid in there. It's stored in liquid form, low pressure, not much of pressure in there, and all of that. But compressed natural gas, in this case now, the pressure for compressed natural gas can go up to 300 psi. That is the pressure that is going to be stored in. The tank it is stored in is totally different from the tank you have in the house. The tank for your cylinder in the house is different from that of compressed natural gas because it's under immense pressure and it's mostly in pure gas format. Pure gas is what you have in there, and it has to be stored under those special pressure so that you can get the quantity you need. It's going to have to pack a lot of calories in there. So that's the major difference you have between the two.